Good morning, everyone. Welcome back to another session of our live virtual training. For those of you who are new to attending, welcome to you as well. Nice to meet you. My name is Jay. I'm one of the education specialists here at LMN and your host for today's training. So in this session, I'm going to be taking you through everything you need to know about creating maintenance jobs and the various methods you can utilize in our software. So you're all excited to actually build out those jobs. So as mentioned, I'm going to talk to you about all the different ways to successfully build out the maintenance jobs for the recurring part of your business, being able to track those jobs, being able to learn all of the key components into the job creation process to make your life much easier. So to get started, let's talk about our main game plan for this training. First, as always, within any of the different tools within the software, I want to highlight what are some of the key settings that you will set up once and for all your timesheets and jobs. So in this case, there will be our job settings. In addition to that, once we have that set up and that foundation completed, we're then going to learn how to basically navigate through the first method of job creation, which is the recommended option, and that is by capturing everything from your service estimate and converting that estimate into an actual job to use for time tracking. Now, once we go through all the different components of the job itself, we also want to take a look at the different users you have available within your subscription. At the same time, I'll be providing a sneak preview of the LMN Crew app just to walk you through the process and show you how your crew leads can build timesheets about what has been completed on the job. Now, once a timesheet is created from the job site and we navigate through that demonstration in the Crew app, I'll take you back into the office side to see how on the desktop side of LMN, you can review, edit, as well as approve that timesheet for payroll purposes. As I move into the second half of today's training, I'm going to walk you through and discuss how to build a maintenance job, but this time from scratch. So anytime that you have those emergency projects, you need to do this on the fly. What is the quick and easy way to build that out? And at the same time, I'll also show you the live tracking feature, show you how to review and see your overall crew and job progress all in real time from the comfort of your office and laptop. Now, as always, if you do have any questions throughout today's session, definitely hit up the chat or the Q&A on the bottom of your screen. I'd be more than happy to work through those questions with you. And remember, if your company is currently going through onboarding as you follow along in your own account, if you come across any confidential or account-specific questions, be sure to make note of them and address them in your next onboarding meeting. So with that being said, let's talk a little bit more about what LMN jobs are all about. So essentially, this is referring to the time tracking capabilities in LMN designed to manage your landscape business operations. So you'll be able to track hours and also facilitate accurate payroll records and provide key reporting. So some of the key benefits of using a jobs tool within LMN, number one, it's going to help to eliminate any unnecessary paperwork or any time theft during the workday, along with data entry mistakes. So basically, you can take all the data and information stored in a binder that you usually give to your crews to access at the job site, but now within the job site itself, and within the LMN Crew app, they can easily access that information. At the same time, jobs will also provide you real-time data, so you can really manage where your crews are going at all the different job sites and what type of work they're performing. At the same time, for those of you who deal with time and material work, you'll be able to also keep track of bill of materials for accurate revenue gains and being able to track that information so you could see exactly what was used versus what was actually estimated. And at the same time, if you're using QuickBooks, either desktop or online, you can sync up your timesheet as well as payroll data over into QuickBooks, so that way you can manage your payroll record accordingly. So those are just some of the key benefits. There's plenty of different things we're going to highlight today, but just wanted to kind of get things going to get started. So as mentioned, before we begin the first method of job creation, I want to take you through the job settings. So with that being said, let's go ahead and navigate right into LMN. And the first thing we'll do is we'll go over to our settings. We'll navigate to our jobs tool. And specifically, let's start with our job types. So this is really the beginning stage of when it comes to building jobs in LMN. So basically, any of the different types of departments or divisions your company focuses on, you'll break those down as basically a job type for which your jobs will be created under. So for example, in my master list, I have quite a few different job types that are broken down. For example, the one we're going to be referring for today is going to be maintenance, but the more and more you continue to grow with the software, you can keep these as detailed specific. For example, if you focus on irrigation repairs, you can add like an irrigation job type. So let me give you an example with the maintenance. So as you can see here, we have the job type name, the category. So are we actually producing something at the end of the day, or is it unbillable and non-production? So that's where you can distinguish between both. Also, the prompt settings. So in this case, basically, do you require your crews to enter any notes upon the completion of a service? So in this case, task notes turn on to yes, weather comments, which will be determined by the nearest cell phone signal, equipment comments to track the equipment. And then we also have something called the drive time shortcut, which you can also enable. Please make note of this. This is going to be a streamlined efficiency process for your company if you enable the drive time shortcut. So it eliminates the need for the crew lead when they're using the mobile app to basically go and manually search to where they can add that drive time task. It's going to be quick and easy way. So anytime a brand new maintenance job is added, that drive time will be added and linked as that shortcut. Okay, so just a heads up for your reference. In addition to that, this is where you can program your default payroll codes as well. Okay, and again, we can always go and add in any new job types as we please. Now let's get into the next setting, which is going to be our default tasks. So anytime that you have like a common task, maybe a recurring task that you want to show up each and every single time for your team out there in the field when it comes to building out timesheets for these jobs. For example, for maintenance, we have changes and extras and warranty work. So those will automatically be added to each maintenance job type that we build out. So in my example, let's say for today, we want to add a third default task, and maybe that's going to be load and unload. And I'll link it towards maintenance. And then we'll track hours and rates for billing by day. Now, again, at the time of the job itself, if you change your mind, maybe you don't want that to be there, you can always remove it, but this is just there as a default setting. Getting back into our settings, we also have our services. So remember, this is going to be a very key important part for your maintenance or recurring type of jobs. So for example, if I go through my list, let's just say that I'm going to pull up one of the different services that we have. Let's say it's mowing. Pretty much there's two key functions that you want to keep in mind when it comes to a service type. Number one is going to be for billing and invoicing purposes, and number two is going to be for scheduling. Now, again, these two will be discussed in some later trainings, but essentially all you need to know is that for these settings, this is where you can program your service types, which will be used for your crews to check off what was actually completed at the job site. And then again, for those of you who are dealing with time and material work under hourly rates, that is where you can also program that information, such as like the one, for example, for labor maintenance. And then from here, you can choose the type per hour flat rate, the amount, and if it's included on billing or if it's taxable as well. So again, just some of the basic settings want to cover before we actually build out a job together for today. Do we have any questions so far? Let me know. Is that all crystal clear? We're good to go? Okay, perfect. So with that being said, we're going to go ahead and navigate into the first method of job creation, the recommended one, which is basically creating it off of a service estimate that we built earlier this week. So again, this is going to be the most efficient way because everything from your estimate will be captured on the job site itself. Okay, so with that, let's go ahead now and navigate back into LMN. And I see a couple of you just trickling in here. So just kind of covered some of the basic job settings. We're going to now get into the creation of our jobs for maintenance work. Okay, so just to catch you up there. So basically, if you recall, we had a customer that was very star of the show and popular customer of ours earlier this week that we built service estimate, Mr. Mark Johns, or formerly John's Residence. So I'm going to go ahead into my estimates and we'll navigate to our service list. Or you can go through your estimate list, whichever you prefer. And let's go through and find the estimate that we are working with earlier this week. So this is the one for the 15 Lundy Drive job site. Some things to kind of keep in mind here as a quick auto refresher. We could see here that the maintenance contract was marked as sold. If I go to services and pricing, this is where we can see that we have a breakdown of mowing and bed maintenance, which are the three services we quoted out to Mark Johns. We have unique billing types and number of visits for each. Under the contract, we can also see all of those monthly payments. So our invoice schedule is already broken down in advance. And if I go to my crew notes, we'll also see some notes for mowing, fertilization, and bed maintenance. Okay, so this was already approved by the customer. So the first method, as mentioned, the best practice here is to basically convert this into a job. So all of that data will be carried over and less additional work for you to have to do on your plate. So to do this, we'll simply go to the bottom and select our create job. This is now going to open up a new tab in my browser here, as you can see, and it's going to have like a summary screen of all the data being captured from our original service estimate. So here we can see the job name. So if I want to go and customize that, I can do so here or later on the job site. You can also see the type, which we talked about earlier, track time by service, or by cost code. We recommend you do it by service, so it's going to be detailed specific by each service. You can also go ahead and organize by hours most to least for these. Now remember, those three services that I have here are going to be converted to clock-in tasks so that crews can use them to track their hours against. Okay, so we have our mowing, beds, and fertilization. But remember, in our settings, we had some defaults. So this is where I have a decision to make. I can either carry these over or I can put them on hold. For now, let's say we're just going to bring them over. We'll make sure we have everything that's marked as hourly checked off. And if you want to carry over the crew notes. And once all of that is finalized with the click of a button, immediately that job will be created in my account. So as you can see from the job screen, if you ever need to go back into the CRM profile, like into Mark John's profile, maybe update a billing address or whatever the case might be, or in addition, you need to go to the estimate itself, we have some quick hyperlinks at the top here. So it'll just take you back to. On top of that, we have all of the different types of features on the job screen. So starting with job info or the job overview, we have the job name. The short name is what the crews are going to see in the mobile app. So if I want to make this as easy as possible, I can just put in the initials, Mark Johns, and we can lock that in. So that is all good to go there. Okay. In addition to that, the customer details and the job site address. Also, if you have any internal related job notes, you can plug those in on this screen, and then also some payroll codes as well. Further to that, when it comes to tracking the staff's actual revenue and efficiency, this is another great way to basically assign this to particular roles, and then you can actually track that progress. So here we can go ahead and assign these to specific crew leads or project managers, in addition to updating the invoices. So I can always lock that in as well. Okay, now on top of that, for those of you who are basically on the professional or enterprise level subscription with LMN for crew efficiency and customer transparency with the customer portal, you have the ability to basically digitize all that manual information you give to your crews take in the field right within here. So that way they can actually take that with the job site and easily access it from their mobile device. So this is where we can either go ahead and upload it brand new from scratch, or I can link it if we already added it in the CRM. So if it was added for that job site, you can always choose that, and then I can see what that is going to be, and I can link that file. In addition to that, I can go ahead and also go and link it from a CRM. So if I have any of those listed out here, so let's say I'm going to just go and add in one of those files, and then maybe we'll add in landscape design PDF. So we have different ones that we can link over. Okay, so just another one to kind of keep in mind to digitize all of that information for your team when it comes to efficiency. Okay. All right, and then job groups I'm going to come back to a little bit later, but another way to kind of categorize your different jobs into one place. What I want to focus on now, though, is going to be our job costing. Now, again, we do have detailed job costing trainings that take place throughout the week. So for now, I'm just giving you a very higher level view of some of the key elements. Now, remember, job costing is included with the professional and enterprise level subscription. If you're on the starter plan, it's not included because key for business focus and accuracy when it comes to selling these future service bills. So just keep in mind that in this case, if you're on professional enterprise, you have the ability to basically enable that job cost feature and use it to the full extent. Okay. So basically, if I go to job costing, we have the overview and we have the scoreboard. So essentially, what you're going to see here is every job created in LMN will have the feature to be job costed. So it basically provides you an overview of all the costs of goods sold in your original estimate, as well as when you're creating a job on the fly and adding in costs of goods sold. So if I see the overview panel, I'm going to have key details about the job, such as the actual versus estimated revenue, the net profit versus the gross profit, and the total cost of the job versus what was estimated. Now, each line item associated with the job will be organized by those price list categories. So remember on the first training earlier this week, we went through the price list tool. So we have the labor, equipment, materials, and so on. That is how this page will be broken down. Now, if I were to drill into those, I will then see my different services and what billable line items came over from my original estimate. So it really provides me a great summary view of the job and how to improve accuracy when it comes to job cost. Okay. So really overall, you're going to see how much money or profit you made on a job and how good and efficient you are at estimating jobs. Now, on this screen, you can see the estimated versus actual quantity and estimated versus actual cost. Now, we don't have any actuals populated because we just built this job together over here. But essentially, when it comes to tracking actuals, there are three different types of methods you can follow. One is through actual timesheets that the crew submits out in the field, where items are tracked and quantities are entered upon the completion of that specific work. Another feature to keep in mind is basically through a vendor bill. So this is also included with your professional or enterprise level subscription, where let's just say your crew is on the way to job site, they need to stop off at the nearest landscape supplier, vendor to pick up an additional material, let's say. They have a purchase receipt, which they can share with you, and you can upload that as a vendor bill, and ultimately they'll roll up to your actual numbers. Finally, we have a manual adjustment. So if any changes are to be made, or maybe you need to invoice for extra materials that were not added initially, you can go into each of these categories, go to add cost, and add a manual adjustment. Okay. So overall, this is really a great way to measure your estimated versus actual numbers over. Now, this is a brief walkthrough. Don't worry, as mentioned, we have detailed job costing trainings that take place on Wednesdays for maintenance jobs. So just kind of keep that in mind for a more detailed overview for your reference. In addition to all of that, we also have the scoreboard. So this is a very helpful tab for you to monitor how many hours were completed for each one of these tasks. As you can see, currently, we only have an estimated. We don't have any actuals listed as of just yet. Now, as a business owner, as a best practice, what we highly encourage you to do is go into the jobs tool and view the scorecard. So that way you can view everything in one place. You don't need to go through one job at a time, because that's going to be a very manual process. So you can go ahead, you can filter based on different job groups, or if there's no job group added, and then you'll be able to go ahead and basically see a little bit of registration for each of the ones that you currently have in the account. Okay, and you'll see different statuses along the way. All right, so let's go back into the job screen itself. Because again, this is coming off of an estimate. So I want to make sure we highlight some of the key elements that are there for you so you don't need to do additional work. So if we go to timesheet tracking, under our punch-in tasks, because this is coming off of an estimate, LMN has automatically created those for me. So those services from the original estimate turned into the task. For example, if I go into bed maintenance, I can see all of the notes that carried over straight away from my crew notes. So all of that information will be there. In addition, because it was marked as per hour, we also can see here that we have that box also checked off. And then we have the estimated crew hours and number of visits listed as well on the screen. Okay. Now you can always go and add in as many new tasks as you want. But again, these are all carried over from my estimate. In addition, we have those 3 defaults. So if, let's just say I don't want load and unload, I can always delete it from this screen. Now, because it's a maintenance job, we have a service linked to it. So if I go to my services, there are all those billing types we saw from our original estimate, and I can go within each of these and see that information broken down. Again, you can add in additional services if you need to. Because we have a service marked as per hour, we can also see our hourly rate that's been automatically there for me. And if I go to add rates, that'll pull up my master list if I need to add in any additional ones. History and photos. This is where once a crew actually builds out the timesheet for the job, maybe they add some photos and key information about that job site, maybe some before and after photos. You'll be able to see that history in real time right within this section. Now, materials and equipment is a very important aspect because not only is this going to show you what's carrying over from the estimate, but by enabling all these items for tracking, that will ultimately help you with streamlining the job costing process for measuring those actuals, because your crew lead can see what was estimated and they'll indicate what was actually used at the job site. So we highly encourage you to make sure everything is enabled for tracking purposes as you see the need. But with maintenance jobs, because there are services linked, we need to make sure that we select that specific service that it's going to be associated with. Okay. And we can also see our default quantity populated from our estimate. So let's just go through and make sure these are all in line with that service, avoids any mistakes happening from the crew lead side. Okay, and I believe the yard waste bag that we have here is going to be under our mowing, so we're good to go with that. Okay, so now we're all going to be set up when it comes to that key information. So all of that is also locked in for us. Okay. All right. Now, scheduling invoicing, as mentioned, not going to go too much into detail on this training, but because we have built out that contract or that payment schedule in advance, I do want to go into invoicing simply to show you that invoicing for a job is automatically turned on. And if I go to my schedule, all of those monthly payments that were from my original estimate carried over because I enabled that contract. So again, makes it easy for you and efficient, not having to forget that if your estimating team already built that out in advance. Okay, so that's pretty much some of the key points here when it comes to the first method of job creation. Wanted to take a little bit of extra time just to make sure you see why or where the efficiency comes into effect when it comes to building out the job off of an estimate. So far, are we clear there? Anything come to mind, or we're all good to go with that first method? All right, perfect. Looks like we're all ready to go there. I appreciate all the thumbs up there. Thanks for jumping in. So with that being said, the next thing that I want to kind of highlight as well, just to kind of keep in mind now that the job is actually going to be created, is going to be the different types of staff members you have available within your subscription. So with that being said, as part of some of our recent updates, as you see, there are basically two main key user types that you're going to have. One is basically the office staff or crew lead, which basically, for any of you are the account admins or crew leads or office workers, you can manage all the subscriptions and different permissions. And then you have the crew member user type, where they are the actual laborers performing that work out in the field. And they actually have a read-only access to the LMN Crew app. So it's a great way for them to get visibility into the work that they're performing, which was actually logged by the crew. So the office staff or crew lead will be able to build those timesheets, but the crew member can only access what they're actually clocked into and just see a read-only view. And just to kind of give you a basic understanding for that. Now, when it comes to basically managing your users and staff, simply we're going to go into our settings and we'll navigate to manage users and staff. Okay, so this is where you can basically program all of your different staff that you have available within your subscription. You can sort by the type. So basically the office staff, crew lead, or crew member. Again, account owner, just basically who is going to be that main account owner in your account. But essentially, if I go through here and let's just say that I'm going to pull up, for example, let's just see here. I'm going to pull up maybe one of the crew members just to give you kind of a breakdown. So with this user type, basically based on the different permissions, you can see currently we don't have anything set up, but within the user setup, we can go ahead and basically go ahead and enable the crew app. And I can also select if we want to view job history as theirs or full access, and then plug in their contact details. In addition to that, you can go ahead and time tracking in payroll, and then you can go ahead and enable some information from payroll settings, in addition to wage costs, which will be another key element linked towards job costing. You can add them to a staff group. You can see if they're clocked into any timesheets, and then also if you want to hide any jobs as well. Now, the difference is if I go back here, and let's say I'm going to select a different user type, maybe that's going to be the office staff or crew lead example. You can see how we can give permission to both LMN and the crew app. And if I go through the permissions, a little bit more detailed options because I also have the permission enabled for the LMN side as well. So essentially, we have basically, these are the two different members. So you can see kind of a quick little description for each. And if I go to permissions, I can give them details on like estimating and budgeting with different access levels, timesheets, jobs and scheduling, invoicing and accounting, management settings, and then reports. And yes, we do have one specifically for job costing. In addition to that, anything around basically from an estimating standpoint or from time tracking capabilities, a variety of different options that you have for them. In addition to that, we talked about tracking revenue and efficiency. Well, this is one way to build it out by tracking those staff revenue goals, which you can see over here. Now, where does this roll up? And once the actual crewee is assigned to, let's just say, one of the invoices, which you'll learn in some of the later trainings. But if I go into the dashboards, this is where I can actually track that revenue based on this information over here. So if I go into the staff revenue, based on those goals I programmed in my user setup, I have the ability to see exactly where we're tracking with that as well. Does that make sense when it comes to the user setup, the two options that you have, the different permissions for each and capabilities and access levels? Just wanted to make sure that is crystal clear so you know exactly if you need to add in any new ones. Okay, perfect. And again, when you go into your users and staff, if you want to add a brand new one from scratch, so I'll just give you a quick little reference. So if I go into add new, this is where I have the ability to select from the different options. Again, you can see what's available within your subscription. And then you can go ahead and basically For example, if it's only crew member, or basically if it's going to be office staff, and then you can basically program those permissions accordingly, and then you can give them permissions for desktop if that is also the office staff or crew lead as well. Okay. So just kind of a quick heads up and reminder on that. All right. So with that being said now, based on that, I want to give you kind of a quick little refresher on some of the best practices that we want to keep in mind here when it comes to that first method of job creation. So basically, remember to convert that estimate to create jobs for time tracking, so everything is captured from the proposal phase. In addition to that, make sure to sort your jobs by date created to find imported jobs much easily, so you'll be able to navigate through to your job list. Remember, the services will turn into the clock-in tasks for your crews to clock into, and your crew notes will turn into those task notes. In addition to that, which we're going to see a little bit later, the ability to renew multi-year service contracts is another big value add for your maintenance work. Okay, so we've kind of gone through some of the basics with jobs, in addition to exploring the first method of job creation and the different users you can add within your account. The next thing I want to quickly, give me a second, the LMN Crew application. So basically based on that information that I have just kind of broken down with you, remember that this solution is basically going to be used to track labor hours from the field for payroll purposes. In addition to that, there's tons and tons of benefits to kind of keep in mind. So number one, no more missed payroll hours. There will be GPS verification so you can know where your crews are clocked into at the various job sites. Again, for those of you dealing with time and material work, accurate job and material tracking. Also very helpful with maintenance work is optimized routing. So having the best order from point A to point B for all the different job sites and having an efficient route, more time getting work done at the job site and less drive time. And finally, any instant data from the field to office. So if your crew lead is adding any notes or any photos, you'll be able to see that information in real time right away within the desktop side of the software. Okay, so just some key points to kind of keep in mind. So with that said, I'm going to bring that up for you. So just give me a quick moment. Okay, so you should be able to see my phone screen here. So essentially, this is the LMN Crew application. So there's 3 different ways to basically log in. We can go through the phone verification code method, which is the easiest way to do that. Again, based on the phone number you've added for that profile with the crew lead. In addition to that, we can go through the email option, or we can go through the username and password option as well. So let's say I'm the crew lead. I'm going to go ahead and log into the application. So once I'm logged in, as you can see immediately, they're being asked, okay, what are we working on? Now, before we get into that, as a reminder, if I go into the main menu, these are some of the basic key elements so they can see basically key information about their payroll period and their hours. If your company has a Greenius account linked, they'll be able to easily access in one application through to the Greenius integration here, so we can see and take basically Greenius courses and training and stuff like that. Further to that, there's also crew tracking. So basically, if you have enabled to track employees in those settings within the user setup, you'll be able to go into crew tracking and actually see exactly, in case you need any backup, to see where other team members are and if you can actually have some of that backup. Okay, so I can go back in time based on who I have the ability to track. And then I can go ahead and basically sort through this list. Right, and I can see where different team members are at the end of it. Okay, further to that, we also have a link to the help guide, some basic settings, and then your profile where once the timesheet is built out, you'll be able to see that timesheet record if you're clocked into that as well. So going through what am I working on? 3 different ways to get this started with the timesheet. Crew schedule, where if your office team has already scheduled jobs for the crew weeks to go perform, they'll be able to go through that. So this is majority of the time they'll want to use this feature. Routing groups, so if you have any specific job groups and routes, so we'll learn a little bit about this later, in addition to finding that job itself. So let's say we go through and we want to find that job for Mark Johns. So I'm going to just go and type that in. There we go, 15 Lundy Drive. Once I pull that up, I'll be able to see if we had any instructions. I can then access those job files even before I'm clocking in. So that is all there for me. And then any history at the job site or any work done at the job site itself in general. Because we added that drive time shortcut, as mentioned, you can see that immediately right within the screen on this pop-up over here. Now, let's just say that maybe we're going to go ahead, we're going to start for the day. We want to say that, okay, we're driving to the job site. So I can go ahead, we can select this option. Here's the crew that I usually lead. I can also launch directions, or I can toggle that off if I want. Now, let's just say to make this interesting, we're going to go ahead and add in some additional crew members. Okay, and let's actually, just to get a full day worth of information hours, I'm going to actually roll this back just to kind of get some more detailed info. So let's say we started at this time. Okay. So we're clocked in, we have our drive time. As you can see, it's currently in progress. So it's in purple. So it's a quick little color coding and indicator for us. Now, let's just say that maybe we arrived at the job site by, let's say, 30 minutes later, and we basically are performing a couple of different services, or maybe you could just say, for example, with mowing, I can distinguish exactly who is going to be performing. So let's just say maybe you're all doing mowing at that time. I can go ahead and indicate time we started it. And then I'll get a warning, well, hey, you can't start it until you end this one. So again, this is where you get that indicator. We'll end that off. We'll clock out of our drive time. And then immediately we have the instructions for our mowing. We'll start that. And now that one will be in progress, and I can always review those instructions here at any point. Okay. Now let's fast track. Let's say we completed that. I'm going to go ahead. I'm going to say we clocked out maybe an hour later. Okay, now we can indicate exactly what was completed. So mowing, and you see now because of that tracking with job costing, we can indicate, okay, how many yard waste bags were used, and then also how many hours in this case for the equipment. So let's say maybe this is it. Okay, so mowing was done. There's the weather notes. We're going to go ahead now. If we want to add in photos, either one or multiple photos, we can check off as many as we want. We can mark it as critical. And then go ahead and clock it. Final thing we want to make sure this is all good to go and readily available is to review that timesheet so we can lock in those hours. We can see our crew efficiency score, so from a productive to non-productive time. And then we can scroll down even further and submit that timesheet. So this is where now we can indicate any breaks, or if no breaks were taken, you can just say no, and then submit that timesheet to the office. And now, great job, timesheet is submitted. There is where that all comes into effect from there. So again, just a very basic preview. We do host our crew lead trainings here on the mobile application on Thursdays at 8 a.m. Eastern. So definitely make sure to check those out. But again, just a simple walkthrough to show you how to build out that timesheet from there. Okay, so with that being said, now what I want to do is go ahead and actually take you back into the office side to see exactly how you can edit that timesheet, review it, in addition to basically going ahead and proving it for payroll purposes. So let's go ahead now back into LMN. Okay, and we're going to go to our timesheet list. And if you see here, we can see our timesheet that has been built out. And based on this, I can go into that and actually review that information. So we can basically see our services in addition to materials and equipment. I can go ahead into my notes, the scoreboard as well. I can see any photos we uploaded. There's the one that was marked critical and any files from the office. Further to that, I can go ahead and review any information, the punch in and out times, in addition to basically if anyone took any breaks or if they're late or absent. And also, if I go into the daily review, this is another way for me to capture and pinpoint all of that information for that timesheet record. So if I see here, all of those notes and what was marked as critical will show up in red for me as well. Okay. On top of that, if I go to the approve screen, this is where now I have a really key indicator in terms of exactly what was submitted and what is waiting to be approved. So if I want, I can go in bulk and actually approve time in one shot, or I can go into that timesheet. And this is where that red edited comes into play. So remember, we actually changed the time. So I want to do this on purpose just to show you exactly where to catch any time theft or fraud. So if I go into this, I can catch what is the claimed in and out times versus our actuals. So that way we can really see if the crew lead is clocking in where they're supposed to be, the timing and all that key information. And I can even go further on a map view and actually see where those edits are taking place. Another great way to kind of catch all of that key insight. Okay. So let's just say we're ready to go ahead. We want to approve that. For this example, I'll go approve it. It'll be removed from the list, but in my timesheet, I can then go ahead and see the status as updated. Now, speaking of that, if I go into my jobs and I go to the job list, which I was talking about earlier, so a better way to basically organize all of your recently created jobs are by the date created column. So I can see the job that we created for today. And within that, if I go into my timesheet tracking in my history, I can see that information all locked in real time. And if I go to job costing, I'll take a look. Now we have some figures that are actually populated there for job cost. Okay, so just some key information to kind of keep in mind into how all of this flows together in one shot. Just make sure your crew submits that timesheet so everything is locked in and those numbers will be populated accordingly. Okay. Now, on top of all this journey I've kind of taken you through in the first half, when it comes to timesheets and being able to kind of be on top of your admin staff, one really useful analytic that I want to also show you under our dashboards is going to be timesheet analytics. So it's a great way for your company to basically see the payroll week, see the status of what's in progress, submitted, reviewed, or approved for basically different dates, in addition to the payroll hours, and you can see that information in real time. So it's another great way to manage all of that key information. Okay, but again, just like that, we basically gone ahead and we've created our first job from today, walked you through that timesheet creation process, and basically seen all those key elements along the way. So with that being said, as a quick little summary, we basically captured all the details from our service estimate. We built a job for our crews to clock into. We've reviewed the different staff types and understood the different permissions and levels. Provided you a quick demonstration of the timesheet creation off of the LMN Crew app. And we learned how to review and edit along with approving a timesheet for payroll from the desktop side. So at this point, if you have any additional questions for me about the content I've covered so far, highly encourage you to go through the chat or the Q&A. Definitely let me know those questions. More than happy to work through them. While you're thinking and submitting those questions to me, highly encourage you all to take about a 5 minutes break, grab a coffee, grab a water, take a walk, whatever you need to do, so that we can be recharged and refreshed to get going in the second portion of our training. But for now, enjoy your well-deserved break, and I'll be seeing you very soon. Bye for now. All right, welcome back, everyone. Hope you had a great, refreshing break there. So next on our agenda, I'm going to be showing you how to create a new maintenance job from scratch within LMN. You're going to learn all the tips and tricks and the theory into how LMN works in the back end when creating these in your account. Now, as a reminder, we always recommend you create your jobs using the first method through converting that estimate into a job. However, there may be some cases where you need to create a job last minute or on the fly. And I want to show you how that can be done as well. So to get started, we're going to go ahead and navigate strictly to our job list to begin. So once we're on our job list, we're simply going to go to the top and we're going to add in a new job. And the first thing we are going to be asked is to choose a customer in our CRM. Now, if we don't have them in the CRM currently, we can go ahead and add a new one on the fly. But for my case, let's say I have a customer that I want to select. Then I want to verify the job site. The type will be maintenance in this case. And then we have that job name feature I was talking about earlier. So if I want to basically add in their initials, I can do so for both of these. And we should be good to go. And then the division will be maintenance. So once I select OK, immediately that job will be created. But again, it's not coming off of an estimate, so there's some things that we want to basically go ahead and keep in mind. So basically, same idea when it comes to the job overview and that key information. Maybe, for example, I want to go in the notes, and let's just say that this is going to be dealing with, let's just say, an upcoming fall cleanup. So I could just say, this is an urgent fall cleanup for customer. Okay, and I can lock that as an internal job related note. In addition to that, we can go into our timesheet tracking. And let's say maybe these three we don't want to keep. We just want to go ahead and delete them all. And we want to add in a brand new one. So we'll go ahead and add a new task. Let's say that's going to be our fall cleanup. So our cost code. Now, let's say maybe this is going to be kind of like that time and material type of service job where we're actually going to track the hours and rates for billing by the hour. I'm going to write that information. And then again, I can go ahead and basically add in any additional information, or we can just leave it as is. So because it's an hourly task, we need to go and link our hourly rate, right? So we need to keep that in mind. So I'm going to go ahead, plug that information in. Let's find our fall cleanup here. And for our fall cleanup, we can maybe choose our maintenance rate over here. Okay, so we can basically plug that information in. Okay, in addition to that, we can then go to our services and we can link our service as well. Okay, and this will be marked as out. Okay, so now all of that key information is there. I can go into materials and equipment. This is where I can add in more information. So again, we have all of these. Now let's just say maybe in this case, we're going to go ahead and maybe just keep a few. So I can always select which ones I want. Okay, and let's just say maybe we're going to keep it as the yard waste bag for now. And maybe we're going to add in a default quantity as well. Okay, so that is all locked in. Okay, so we have that. And then finally, we want to go into our invoicing and turn that on for invoicing. And this will be for our service jobs. Now, we don't need to go ahead and actually build out an invoice schedule because, again, that's going to be part of the time and material work based on the actual timesheet that will be built out and to trigger invoicing. So I'm just going to leave that as maintenance and we'll lock that in as this. So even better to organize myself, I can go ahead and actually change the name to have the billing type in there. So it's easy way for project managers to keep track of those hourly jobs in your list. So with that, in my job list now, I basically have two jobs. We have the one that we have built from the estimate and one that was built on the fly. So now the next scenario I take you through is maybe we want to build out a per visit type of invoice. So I'll do the same thing. I'll go ahead, let's choose a different customer. Okay, do the same thing here. Because it's per visit, I can go ahead and basically add in billing type and initials. So as you can see, because it's not coming off of an estimate, there are some additional steps that I need to take, right? So we can go in here, we'll do the same thing. And we're not going to track hours and rates for billing by the hour. Let me just keep this simple. I'll just plug in gate code, dogs and set. Let's go to our services. And now this is where we'll do the same thing, but the billing type will be bill per visit. And then we can plug in that amount as well. Turn this on for invoicing again. Okay, so just like that, as you can see, we now have 3 different jobs in our account. The last 2 we built were from scratch or on the fly, where one was an hourly based invoice and one was a per visit type of billing option. So that way you can kind of see how the different ways go when it comes to building jobs on the fly. Now, some common examples I know in the industry when it comes to maintenance work, maybe you have some emergency irrigation repairs. That's where you can use that irrigation job type and quickly and easily build an irrigation repair job on the fly and then ultimately schedule that to the calendar so crews can go perform that work. Are we kind of now a little bit getting the hang of things when it comes to the second method, job creation, building it on the fly? Hopefully that is kind of all very clear for you now. Okay, perfect. So based on that, now that we kind of have some jobs already added within the account, the next thing I want to explore with you is going to be the job groups. So basically, anytime you see the term groups in LMN, we're giving you the ability to group things together to make your life much, much easier. So basically, job groups will allow you to group your various jobs into different types of groups so you can find those jobs easier, generate reports, use more dashboards more efficiently, and a lot more. So essentially, there are 2 main types. If you attended our job creation training yesterday, you would have learned a little bit more about the standard job groups, which are more for anything that does not need to be optimized into a different route. So more for your like design build projects or like paver driveway, things like that. Whereas the route is going to be more where you throw jobs in the same geographical area that you provide recurring services to for those jobs. So for example, you can optimize that route. Basically, you have, for example, for your spring cleanup or your mowing routes, things like that, you can go and easily utilize. And that's another way for your crews to go through the mobile app to clock into their jobs by selecting that crew route specifically. So with that, today's focus will be on building the second type of job group, which is going to be through that route option. So we'll go back into LMN. And we're going to go ahead and navigate strictly into our job groups. And as you can see, I have quite a few job groups in my account, some standard, some that are route-based. So let's add a brand new one today. And let's say that that's going to be my fall cleanups. And what we'll do is we'll find those jobs that we built out earlier. And then we can add some additional ones as well. So I can actually just search for fall cleanup. And any jobs that have that within, I can go ahead and basically add them in here. Okay, and I'm going to make sure this is route. So we have basically all of that broken down. And then what we can do is implement that optimization feature, right? So I can go to map route. I can basically see the start and end address, which comes from my company information for routing details. Now let me just maybe adjust some of these. Want to kind of get the best order here. So let's just say that we're going to go here. Let me see which one we want to break down. Let's see here. Okay, so we're going to go to route optimization, and then we can lock that in. Now, based on that information, if you're still not happy with how that order is maintained, it's not going to be like permanently locked or anything. What you have the ability to do is go ahead and still play around with the order if you want. So if I wanted to adjust this, I can always drag and drop. But for now, I'm happy with it. We're going to start with Jules' location and then proceed accordingly. So that is basically how you will build out that route. Now, again, some efficiencies and ways to utilize that job group is I can go into my job list and I can easily organize that list to only see those fall cleanups. So that's listed out for me. I can also go ahead further to that, and I can actually use it on some different reporting and dashboards. Now, what if all of these I want to add to another job group? I can go to update, and then I have the ability to go ahead from here and actually add it to additional job groups as well. And then I can choose from my list. Again, you can do it one at a time within each job, but this will be the most efficient way to do it in bulk for your company when it comes to managing any of the jobs that are added to various job groups. So with that being said, at this point, some reminder on the best practices. Again, job groups can be used for a variety of different reporting and dashboards as one of the filters, in addition to even the detailed analytics, which we'll explore a little bit later. And also your crew leader forming to actually clock into those jobs via selecting that job group or rep. So it's an easy way. They don't need to sort through or search through the entire job list to find that job specific. So with that said, speaking of that, I'm going to go ahead and bring you back into the Crew mobile app just to kind of show you how this kind of comes into effect when it comes to selecting from there. So just give me a second. I'm going to bring up the Crew app again. And as you can see here, if I were to go to what am I working on, immediately I can go to route and groups. And then I can either search or I can scroll through. And there is our job group or route. Immediately that order is maintained based on that route optimization. So let's just say that specifically we're at the job site, we're going to be performing fall cleanup. I can go into that. I can see the instructions that we added. So there's that urgency for the team. I can select the time that we started and go ahead now and start that. And that will be the hourly rate. And currently that one will be marked in progress. Okay, so just another quick and easy way for you to efficiently go ahead and break that down from there. All right. So with that, very nice segue into our next topic, which is going to be the detailed live tracking capability. So based on the timesheet data we saved from our in-app demonstration, we're going to take a look to see how to instantly see where our crews are currently logged in. Also see and use live tracking to determine where the mobile device was in relation to pinpoint where the job site is located. And that will be thanks to the GPS coordinates that were added to the job when we built that in LMN. So let's go ahead and break that down accordingly. Okay, so again, remember with the professional enterprise, you have the detailed live tracking capabilities. So you'll be able to go ahead into your actual timesheets. And then we have the live job tracking and live crew tracking. So if I go into the job tracking, this is where, again, that job group filter comes in hand. So easy way to organize that. So I can go through the job group. And let's say we're going to go through the one for fall cleanup. So I have a live map and a job history view, so I can see currently what is in progress, and you can see that is in green, and there's that actual job site. Once I select that pin, it will then open up this window where I have detailed information about that timesheet record. So if I were to upload a photo in between while a job is in progress, that can also be seen right away. Okay. So further to that, I can go to job history. And now basically I can pinpoint exactly in a list view. So if I want more detailed information about the job, the address, the task that's currently the crew is clocked into, the clock in time, currently there is no clock out time. But again, you can see all of this in progress. So overall, when it comes to the job tracking, both the live map and job history view will help you to proactively solve problems instead of react, right? So if you see a crew is being held up at a job longer than they should be, maybe there's some additional time than what was estimated, well, you know, you need to check in to see what's going on. So by being proactive, this will help provide you with a competitive advantage when it comes to providing excellent customer service, and your customers will have the confidence knowing their jobs or services are being managed in the most efficient way possible. Okay, so that is kind of the power with live tracking, especially when you go through the job progress. Now, at the same time, based on that, if I go to live crew tracking, so now for the more of the fun part, let's detect where our crews are currently located. So here's where on a live map, you'll be able to see currently based on this legend who is punched in at a job and who is punched in away, and you'll be able to go through and easily go and zoom in and zoom out and basically see that information or sort by your different staff. In addition to that, we can go to where are they, and that gives me some more detailed information. So as you can see here, we have basically the employee names. We'll be able to see exactly the crew leader foreman, what job they're clocked into, and then we'll see a map in red in the case where there's a discrepancy based on the location as well. So from here, I can basically go in to that map, and then I can see exactly where's the job site versus the crew location, and you can see that quick little indicator as well. So this is another way to catch any of that time theft or fraud, and are the crews actually clocking in where they're supposed to. Now, the moment they're actually clocked into a job site on a timesheet, that is where we can actually track that information. It's not on their personal use and things like that. It's more related to a job site specifically. Okay, so that information is basically all there is to know when it comes to crew tracking. So on this part, both the live map here and the list view will help you to deal with those issues in real time, maybe move labor around more effectively if you need to. And if you see one crew is running behind on their jobs, you can always proactively send another crew to help them out. Okay. But again, all of this ties in and links very well when it comes to the live tracking capabilities. Now, another scenario to consider is whether or not, okay, based on this information, if I go back into the crew app and I were to clock out these employees, would I be able to actually see this history in real time? Well, let's go ahead and take a look. So if I go back into the crew app and I were to clock out of that fall cleanup, let's say I'm going to clock out at this time. Let's enter how many waste bags are used. Just keep it simple. And then let's just make sure we submit that timesheet as well. Okay, so looking very good with our crew score. Definitely surpassed our goal. Submit that, no breaks are taken, and we'll submit it to the office. Okay, so all of that information is done in real time. So essentially, based on that now, if I go ahead into my job tracking, I'll select my job group again from the list. You can see now it's in blue, so meaning it's been completed, and I can see that history with the punch out time. So that is recorded there. However, the moment I go to live crew tracking, because I have clocked out those employees and they're currently finished with that service, that history is going to be removed. But again, you can go to job tracking to see some more details of that timesheet record. So just want to kind of give you both scenarios just to kind of keep that in mind and where that information comes into effect. Okay. All right. So based on that, another key element to talk about, because we've kind of gone through a variety of different ways to build out jobs, being able to create timesheets and tracking those jobs as well, is some of the detailed data points and analytics you can generate for your reference as well. So quite a few different options to kind of highlight. So I'll go back into it. And the first thing that I want to kind of highlight here are going to be some of the detailed reporting that you can generate. So if I go into the reports feature, under the payroll option, there's two specific reports that I want to talk about. The first is going to be number 10, which is foreman edit audit report. So if I want to generate this every week to determine what if there's any time theft or fraud, it's a really great report to determine those claimed in and actual times we saw on the approved screen earlier. So if I go here and I can adjust my date range, and now LMN will basically generate that report for me. And as you can see, we can now see all of those information of what is the claimed in versus actuals, and also the distance from site as well. So all of that is all done in real time. So just kind of keep that in mind. On top of that, if you have currently like a manual procedure when it comes to a timesheet, well, through the crew app and the timesheets built by your crew lead, that can all be digitized based on this crew daily log. So if I go through this report now, and I want a copy of all the information about the timesheets for today, everything is recorded here for me. So you can see basically the timesheet staff, if there are any breaks taken, if they're late or absent, the actual staff names, the job, the address, the task, if there's any materials or equipment used. So I can go through with the fall cleanup and I can see all that information in addition to the one earlier where we clocked into mode, right? So all of that time in and out, hours used and so on are all going to be listed out as a digitized copy for your reference. Okay. We talked about earlier, I mentioned the timesheet analytics here. If I go into the job analytics, it's another way for you to keep track of your new jobs past 7 days, active versus inactive, and your jobs most over budget by hours and percentage. So you can see all of this key insight as well. Now, what's really cool is if you recall from earlier this week on our estimate training, we talked about some of the estimate analytics. Well, I'm going to show you some of the additional job analytics you can reference as well. There's quite a few, just going to show you a couple of them just to kind of keep in mind. So let's take a look at our jobs and we'll go to our job listing. So instead of you as business owner going one at a time through each job, you can actually go to the job listing, apply unique filters, including, for example, the job group we talked about earlier. And in this dashboard, you can see the total jobs you have in your account, in addition to basically every data point from job to job. So all of those estimated versus actual numbers are all listed there. And the best part is you can actually download this to Excel or CSV on the fly. So easy way for you to take those business insights for you and your team. Okay. In addition to that, for job costing, we also have that information available in real time. So these are some of the data points when it comes to the job costing analytics, again, specifically broken down by what's most or least profitable, actual versus estimated overview, and top 10 most over by estimate percentage or actual hours. So some of the key points as well. Okay, so you have a few more graphs here, and you can get all of that granular detail as you need for your team to make more informed decisions across the board. Okay, so just quite a few different options from estimates to jobs to invoicing, but again, these will be the main job analytics. Wanted to kind of highlight for you. Okay. All righty. So based on that, getting into the next portion here, there are some more additional tips and tricks and some advanced feature I want to kind of cover just to give you the full package when it comes to managing your maintenance jobs in the best way possible. One of them being the update jobs feature, one of my favorites. This is an ability for you, especially to add a task, a service, a material, or an hourly rate to multiple jobs all at once. So this is going to be super handy for you all because if you're on today's session, it means that you probably do much more maintenance rather than design. So really, this is going to give you the power to do things in the most automated way possible. So for that, I'm going to go ahead back into LMN. And to access that, we're going to go into our jobs tool and we'll go to update jobs. So there's kind of like 3 different ways to keep track or understand how this tool actually comes into effect. One of them is going to be through add, another through edit, and another through delete. So if I were to go ahead and let's say I want to add in a material, I can select from my list. So let's say maybe I'm going to add in, let's just say maybe a disposal waste bag. I'm going to select a group. So let's just say we want to add in the one we built earlier today. Within all 4 of these jobs, in bulk, I can go ahead and add in that material item. So instead of going one at a time, do it in one shot. At the same time, we can also go ahead and edit. So let's say I want to go and edit something, and maybe that something is going to be a service. And let's say this will be our fall cleanup. So maybe instead of going ahead and basically manually adjusting this on each job one at a time, I can also use set all row, and we can say everything is going to be bill per visit. We can say everything is going to be 250, but at the same time, maybe I want to mark that up by 20%. I can actually use the calculator feature and simply just say I want to mark it up by 20%, and the calculation will be done automatically for me, and there we go. So we have it all locked in. Okay, so just another way for you to kind of keep that in mind when it comes to editing. Finally, if I go to delete, unless something was specifically used or on a timesheet, so let's just say I want to go to my fall cleanup. And again, depending on the spelling that you have for each task. So let me just make sure it's good to go. See. There we go. Currently it's in use, so it'll notify me, but if I want to delete it from the other jobs, I can delete that in mass bulk. So can you imagine if you have like 50, 100 plus jobs in this screen? That's going to be a huge cost and time savings for your company, right? So definitely something to make leverage of is utilizing this update jobs tool. And there's a lot of additional features along the way, especially with the add and edit option that you've seen. Okay. So that is basically update jobs. Another one that's very big with your recurring and maintenance work are the renewals. So for those of you who deal with multi-year service contracts, you really want to have the ability to renew your jobs for clean annual reporting. So basically, there's a couple of different steps that you want to take place when it comes to renewing your jobs. So let's say I'm going to go ahead and I'm ready to go and renew all of these 4 in one shot. I can select all, hit update, and then I can renew jobs. So these are the couple of different steps you have to keep in mind. First, do we want to deactivate our old jobs? So the new jobs will then turn into an active status. The other ones, if they're completed, they'll be deactivated. So crews won't be able to see them within the mobile application, right? Do we want to replace the text in the new job name? So instead of this year, it will be next year. So it's cleanly organized in our list. And also we can add a suffix. So let's say that the easiest way we want to do this is just add in the word renewed. Here's how our old name will look like. Here's how our new names will be previewed. So just another easy way for you to navigate through that. Do we want to generate new job IDs? And also, do we want to move the job file? So if we uploaded a lot of files or photos, do we want to be able to shift that over? So then maybe, again, like a lot of times, maybe a job site will look exactly the same. We'll have those site maps and renderings easily available for the next renewed job as well. Okay. Do we want to reset the contract and monthly payment dates? So that's another capability that you have right within this section. So we can reset it to next year. And then also the job groups and invoice groups. So instead of you having to sift through and build multiple different job groups accordingly, you can easily replace the ones that were already completed with the newly renewed jobs. So then it's another big time saver for your company. Finally, for QuickBooks, this is where you can link to new QuickBooks jobs or link to existing QuickBooks jobs. Once everything is finalized here, the moment you click on create jobs, immediately all of those renewed jobs will be created automatically. So yes, that's another way of creating jobs in LMN through utilizing the renew feature. So if I take a look here and let's just say I'm going to go through my list here, I can just show you a quick little example. So like these ones, for example, I had them renewed, and that will be how that easily is built out for me. And you can see they're marked as active. So just another way to basically build out your jobs accordingly, right? So just a couple best practices here. So remember, at the end of each season, you can always deactivate all of the finished or completed work. And then prior to the start of the next season, you can deactivate the jobs and renew them for the upcoming season to make sure everything is as accurate as it can be. All right, and if you thought that was the last way to basically create your maintenance jobs, it's not. There's another super quick and easy way to build them in LMN. And this is a great example. If, let's just say, for example, from estimating, you learned about like estimate templates. Maybe you want to have like a job template for a maintenance package, and you want to basically, let's say, for example, you have like a irrigation repair and you have it for multiple customers. You can easily clone or basically copy that job for another customer and easily then go ahead and move into like scheduling and so on. So how can you use that copy feature? So simply we'll go back into LMN. And let's say maybe for this example, we'll go through the one we built from our estimate. Maybe all of these detailed points for 15 Lundy Drive, we want to copy to another customer. I can either go to action here or the 3 dots on the left, select on copy. And then from here, I can basically do it for the same customer, but a different job site, or I can click on change and then go ahead and select a new customer. And then basically, once I click OK, everything will be copied over for that new customer automatically from that job. Okay, so that is, as mentioned, very, very quick and easy to utilize if you want to kind of have all of the data from this job into another job automatically for your company. Okay. All right. So with that being said, those are pretty much all of the key elements that I wanted to cover on today's training. Quite a few different ways to best manage your maintenance jobs and to successfully build them in your account to use for time tracking purposes. And again, ultimately by setting it up right in advance and being organized and on top of it will ultimately help your crew leads as well in the field so they know efficiently what jobs to clock into, what types of information you've either estimated, and what they need to indicate as actually being used at the job site. So based on that, just want to kind of do a quick little summary and recap for you on everything that we have covered here in today's training, just to make sure that you're reassured on all those key elements. So to begin with, basically before the creation of jobs, we talked about our job settings. So from the job types to the default tasks, the services and hourly rates. So all of that foundation was set up in advance. Then we navigated into the first method of job creation. So taking all the details from our service estimate in the proposal phase, capturing all of that detail, such as like the billing type of the services, the crew notes, that contract, all of that, and converting that into a job where everything carried over automatically for us. From there, we also explored the different staff and user types you have available within your subscription. So either the office staff and crew lead user type, or the crew member, and different permissions for each and different access points. In addition to that, once the job was created, we've explored the staff. We built a quick little timesheet from the Crew mobile app to show you how the process works from start to finish. And then we also learned in the second half how to navigate into building the jobs from scratch. So basically, 2 examples we gave from the time and material work, in addition to the per visit type for the fall cleanups and being able to keep track of that information. There were some more efficient and advanced features we kind of covered, such as like the live job progress and crew tracking feature, and being able to manage that from the timesheet we built in the Crew app as well. And then also the bulk update jobs, in addition to the renew jobs feature, and really how that's going to be a game changer for your company going forward. Finally, throughout today's journey, took you through some really cool reporting analytics, along with some detailed dashboards for all of those data-driven insights for you and your company. So with that being said, I want to make sure that we're all gauged on all the topics we've covered in today's session so far. So if you can all do me a quick favor here, I have just launched a poll with 3 quick questions just to make sure we're all good to go on the topics we've covered. Please take your time to work through that. Again, if you do have any additional questions while you're working through that, let me know. And it looks like on that note, I did get a question here in regards to whether or not we'll be getting a copy of the recording. Absolutely, 100%. Going to make sure to send that to you post-training. And yes, totally understand you're just learning LMN, and more than happy to share that recording and some key resource guides with you. So please stick around a little bit longer because I'm going to talk about some of those additional resources for your company. So no problem, and so great to hear that you find this super informative for your team. So keep the additional questions coming, keep working through the poll. Just going to kind of wrap up with some of those additional items. So basically, first and foremost, the live virtual training, such as this one today. If you really enjoyed today's live virtual training, you want to attend more of these. Again, we host these weekly for free. And again, anytime you have a new team member joining your landscaping crew and you want to get them trained on LMN, a great way to sign up for these sessions. And I have just shared the link there through chat, so you should be able to see that on your end. In addition to that, we also have our Academy certification programs that are going on, so our in-person trainings. We do have basically the upcoming snow 2-day workshops as well. So definitely something to also keep in mind. You have the ability to meet myself and the rest of my education team in person. So I've also shared that link with you. And also, if you haven't checked this already, so our CEO, Mark Bradley, has some upcoming snow management sessions and workshops. So definitely another one to kind of keep in mind. And here's just some more information on those virtual events taking place. Okay. Alrighty, and then if you haven't attended our Mastermind Weekly, again, these take place live every Wednesday at 12:30 p.m. Eastern, a great way for you to gain valuable industry insights, and not just LMN related, very industry specific, so a lot of key knowledge and data points to kind of keep in mind for your company. Further to all of that, in terms of some of our educational resources, you can access anywhere from the Academy, in addition to our help desk for more detailed steps on tutorial guides on all of the topics that we've been presenting in today's session. So as a quick bonus, you've all been really great today. Want to take you to a quick point here. If I bring up LMN again, just going to kind of walk you through that. Okay, so within your LMN account, if you go into the help and resources, this is where you can access the Academy in addition to our live virtual training. So I'll just bring that up as well. On top of that, we also can find our help desk. So give you some quick little points about these just to kind of keep that in mind. Okay, so on our help desk, again, we built in-house tutorial guides on all the topics we're covering. So if I go into the user guides option, on the left side, you're going to see all the topics that we are covering in our live virtual trainings, so such as the one for today on jobs. And within those guides, you have different subtopics about all of the content we've been covering. So if you really enjoy learning about that update jobs tool, you can go to update jobs, and we have screenshot step-by-step instructions for you to use at any point in time. So definitely something to leverage there. So what I'll do here as a bonus, I'm going to share that with you as well. So you can bookmark that on your end. So you should see that right there. In addition to all of that, if I go into the live virtual training landing page, which I shared with you earlier, a quick and easy way for you to register for our live virtual trainings. So here are all the different types of topics and courses that we offer. So a little bit more description on that. And then we have quickly like a calendar view. So for the upcoming sessions, let's just say for the coming weeks, I can go into this. And immediately I can go through and we can see the upcoming sessions, in addition to our newly added snow sessions that are also taking place. So you can definitely check this out, get some more description. And when you actually select on that link, it takes you right away to the main Zoom registration page. The moment you sign up and register, you'll get a link right away in your email to add that meeting to your calendar as well. So just a quick and easy way to kind of register for those live virtual trainings, right? So this is just kind of that main landing page for your reference and some of the key data points as well. And you can also choose which date you want from them, okay? While we're on the main landing page here, if I go ahead into my events and webinars, this is where I can also find the Mastermind Weekly that I was talking about earlier. In addition to that, we can also see from our Academy certification program and the in-person training, and this is where you can navigate to that. Again, share the links with you there, but again, you can see exactly what is being offered. And also you'll see some more information and what the day actually looks like and the topics being covered, and then the link to sign up and register for those sessions as well. So quite a few different resources. Definitely wanted to highlight that towards the end here. At the same time, please remember that once this training closes with me here today, you're going to receive a survey with 2 quick questions letting us know any detailed feedback you have about my training with you here today, in addition to the jobs tool in LMN and how that's going to help with your maintenance work going forward. So please, each and every one of you, take a moment of time, share your detailed insights. We read those comments. We'd love to hear from you. With that, I'm going to take a quick look, and the poll is completed. So great job. Appreciate you jumping in there. And yeah, that's pretty much all I have for you here today. So with that being said, from our LMN crew to your crew, thanks again for joining. If there's any further questions you have about the maintenance job creation process that come after today's session, definitely reach out to the LMN team. Have a great rest of the day, everyone, and take care. Bye for now.